Yeah! I am the game! Woo! I will give you a show like you have never, ever seen before. Why? Because
the best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be.
You will rest in peace. And what you're gonna do when the whole world falls to me and destroy
That's the bottom line, because Stone
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of your boy Deluxe Man's WrestleMania Review Series. Today, we look at WrestleMania VI, the very first WrestleMania to go outside the US. And for the very first one, gotta say, not a bad show. At the same time, I gotta be honest with you, it's another one-match show. Let's be real. Everybody remembers WrestleMania VI for the ultimate challenge. The Ultimate Warrior versus the Hulkster double championship, IC and World Championship, as well as the very first babyface versus babyface main event. And the only one that would happen until WrestleMania 28, where we got The Rock and John Cena. This match came about basically because of the Royal Rumble this year. At Royal Rumble 1990, a very good Royal Rumble, by the way. The first good one, honestly. But at this Royal Rumble, we had the big confrontation between Hogan and Warrior, and the audience lost their mind. WWF would have been stupid not to make this their main event. And they did. And it paid off big time. To me, so far, the best main event in WrestleMania up to this point. But you want to hear my thoughts on the entire show as it is. Of course you do. Details, as always, before we get into the entire show. This show was 3 hours and 35 minutes long. WrestleManias are getting longer and longer as time goes by. Now, I think they get shorter past this point. And then we get back to the 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour long WrestleManias at a later date. But for now, 3 hours and 35 minutes. This was on April 1st. April Fools. April 1st, 1990, the year I was born. That shows you how old I am. Thanks. In the Skydome, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. As usual, we have Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura on commentary. Love them. They have become the perfect partnership at this point. I almost don't want to see a WrestleMania without them, but we know what happens eventually. They do go their separate ways, and it becomes Vince McMahon and some other commentary team. Attendance was big. 67,678 fans in attendance. That's a big crowd. I would think so, because Canada is big on wrestling, especially at this point in time. Ring announcer is still the fake Howard Finkel. And interviewers are, again, we have me and Okerlund, but then we have Sean Mooney. How did you guys feel about Sean Mooney? I just find him annoying. I'm sorry, I had to say that. I just don't know what it is. I'm not saying there's something bad about him. I just think he's annoying. I just don't like him. He's just naturally annoying. I don't know how you guys feel about Sean Mooney, but for me, I'm just like, can we just have me, Gene, do the interviews and leave Sean Mooney out of the picture? I just don't like him. Since we're in Canada, we don't open up the show with the national anthem, the US national anthem. We open up with the Canadian national anthem. I'm going to run through these matches like before, because again, it really doesn't start getting interesting until the last hour, the last few matches. We open up with Hall of Famer Coco Beware taking on non-Hall of Famer, which is ridiculous, the model Rick Martel. I love Rick Martel. I think he's one of the most underrated heels in wrestling. He's just awesome. He has a spray called Arrogance, and he sprays himself with it. Like, he is completely aware of how self-centered he is, and he loves it. Wears the glasses, has the model body, just an arrogant douchebag. Coco Beware, I guess this was a good performance, honestly. So far, this was his best match at WrestleMania, so I'm not going to hate on him too much. But this match was made to put over Mick Martel? Mick Martel. Sure. Rick Martel. That was a fun opener. It was a good opener, I'll say it like that. Next up is the WWF Tag Team Championships. Demolition versus the Colossal Connection, Haku and Andre the Giant. Now, You guys know Demolition had the longest record for tag teams in terms of tag team championships, until it was broken by the New Day. Colossal Connection were the people who ended that reign. It went 478 days until December 1989, where the Colossal Connection finally dethroned Demolition, the tag team of X and Smash. This was the night where they won it back. And the match itself was average, but the crowd loved it. Demolition was hot over. I didn't really take into account how over they were until I saw this match. So, good stuff. They win with their tag team finisher, and they become a three-time, three-peat tag team championship holder. And after the match, we have that big breakup with Andre and Bobby Heenan. Heenan's all frustrated that Andre lost the match. Pushed him, shoved him. Andre had enough and then walked off. Well, he got carried off because, you know, they had those riders and the rampway was too long for them to walk. So they got rode off. So basically, he rode off into the sunset, I guess, although the dome was closed. Anyways, Andre went away, and Bobby basically watched his family fall apart. Earthquake versus Hercules. Earthquake was a new acquisition for Jimmy Hart. And Earthquake at this point was just running through people. And I mean running through people. They even said on the show he injured 28 wrestlers. He put a lot of people in the hospital. And this match was just made to put him over, just like Rick Martel was put over by Coco Beware. Earthquake beats Hercules. Nothing else to say about it. Hercules gets sent to the hospital, just like everybody else. We have an interview with Miss Elizabeth, who's been gone from TV since WrestleMania, basically. And those of you wondering what happened with Macho Man, well, he is now the Macho King. And his new manager is Sensational Sherry, or at this point, Sensational Queen Sherry. In this interview, Miss Elizabeth has talked about being off TV because she is sick of disappointing the fans. Being a helpless damsel in distress and not helping anybody, basically. And this was a nice setup for that tag team match later on, which we'll get to. Next up is Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, versus Brutus, the Barber Beefcake. And in the corner of Kurt Hennig is the genius, Lenny Poffo, who is the brother of Randy Savage. It was a decent match. I just find it weird that Brutus Beefcake gave Mr. Perfect his first loss. And here's my question to the people who were there, or who are alive at this point. How was the feeling when Mr. Perfect lost to Beefcake? Was it a big deal? Or was it kind of, meh, disappointing? Because I was disappointed that he lost to this guy. Man, I like Brutus. But him beating Mr. Perfect in his first match? Come on now. Hogan, okay. Randy Savage, okay. Even Ultimate Warrior, okay. But freaking Brutus? And what exactly did it amount to? I don't think it amounted to anything. And then after the match, I think Brutus cut the hair of the genius. So, yeah, I just don't think it was a good idea to have Mr. Perfect lose his first match here. There are rumors that Hogan pulled for Perfect to lose this match so he wouldn't have to face him for the championship. I don't know how true that is. I'm not going to buy into that, but it's just something to take note of. Going on, we have Mean Gene talking to Piper, and in one of the weirdest promos I've seen, at least, Piper's whole left side of his body is black, and called him Hot Scotch or something like that. And then his other side was Hot Rod, white was Rod, black was Scotch or Scorch. I think it was Scotch. I'm not too sure what was going on. I was very put off by it because I knew he was fighting Bad News Brown. So I didn't want to look at it the way it looked, which was in a racial manner. I didn't want to look at it that way. So it was very odd to see that happening. The match was an average match. It didn't even really end with a finish. It was a double count out. Okay, this is where I want to do a little rant. At this point in time, every single WrestleMania has had a multitude of double countouts or no contests. At WrestleMania, if you're going to have a no contest, it should be limited. Limited to one match. Or better yet, a countout should be limited to one match. The fact that this show had four count-out finishes is ridiculous. The first one, this one, it happened and I wasn't that aggravated about it. The next one really kind of annoyed me. The third one was like, okay, seriously, stop with the count out finishes. And the fourth one, I'm just like, okay, why? This is WrestleMania. Why are we doing this? But we'll get to those matches in a second. Like I said, Piper and Bad News in a double count out. Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, the father of Natalia, took on the Bolsheviks. I think one of them was Nikolai Volkov and then some other guy. Wait, it was, oh shoot. No. Who was it? Fuck, I forgot. Who cares? Basically, Hart Foundation beat them in 19 seconds because these guys had to get on the microphone and sing their Soviet national anthem in Canada of all places, and the Canadians said, hell nah. Beat them up, hit the heart attack, 1, 2, 3, 19 seconds, it's over with. Bret Hart and Jim win. I'll admit it wasn't one of Bret's best performances, but why complain? Down the line, he gets his time to shine, especially next year's WrestleMania. Next year's WrestleMania is going to be awesome for Bret. We had the Barbarian with Bobby the Brain Heenan taking on Tito Santana. Arriba! I hope some of you say it with me, because at this point, I expect people to do it. Every time I say Tito Santana, I want you to go, Arriba! But in terms of this match, another average, okay, it happened match. I will say I like the finish. The Barbarian's flying clothesline looked sick. It looked awesome. But that's it. That was the only good part about this match, the finish. So the Barbarian wins that match, and I think next is Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire versus the Macho King Randy Savage. Ooh yeah. And Sensational Queen Sherry in the first ever mixed tag match at WrestleMania. And in the corner of Rhodes and Sapphire is Miss Elizabeth. And I love how her promo tied into this match, because Elizabeth does get involved, and she does help Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire win. In a very fun match. Sherry and Savage? You couldn't beat that. They were awesome together, man. I love seeing this run with Macho King Savage and Sensational Queen Sherry. By the way, those of you wondering, he became the king when he won King of the Ring. Although I don't think I had to say that. I think most of you knew he became King of the Ring, and that's why he was called the Macho King. Hopefully. If you didn't, now you know. Basically, Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire win this match after Elizabeth tosses Sherry into the ring and has her get pinned. It was fun. Following that, we got the classic interview where Bobby the Brain Heenan says the line, "You listen to me, you go to the top. You don't listen to me, you're never heard from again." In reference to Andre the Giant basically becoming a waste of space to him. Following that, we got the Orient Express with Mr. Fuji taking on the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, the second WrestleMania match for Shawn Michaels. This match was great. This match had all the makings to be a really good WrestleMania match until we got a count-out finish. This was the second one. I get what they were going for. We want to protect both tag teams, but just have a finish. Have the Rockers lose. It was okay. We had a really good match, and it should have had a finish. But nah, they just ended it with a freaking count out. It wasn't the only one. We have more coming. Hacksaw Jim Duggan took on Dino Bravo. It was okay. Jim Duggan won. Seriously, nothing else to say. I thought Hacksaw was going to get booed in Canada. No, he was actually well respected. They cheered him on. Luckily, because he didn't do the USA chant, he did the ho, which was smart of him. He realized that doing that chant in Canada would get him booed. Maybe he tried to do it and it didn't go over and he stopped. But I'm happy he learned that wasn't going to work in Canada and just stuck with the ho because it worked. Especially since Dino Bravo was Canadian and he still got booed. And honestly, it was just set up for Earthquake to go in afterwards and attack Jim Duggan and put him on his big list of people he injured, once again adding to his heel momentum. I have to talk about this promo. Jake the Snake Roberts had an awesome, a classic promo, and it shows why he is one, if not the best talker in wrestling history. Ted DiBiase wanted his belt back because he's going against Ted DiBiase for the $1 Million Championship. He's going to have to beg and grovel. And how ironic that it's him, the man that's made millions, beg and grovel for money. Now he's doing it, wallowing in despair. Well, more like wallowing in the depths of avarice. because that's what he said. He basically called him a victim of greed. A classic promo. Go check it out. Go out of your way to see this promo. Do not skip over it if you're watching WrestleMania 6. You have to see how the master works. And then we get into the next match. Here we go. Once again, another good match. Both these guys, great performers. Ted DiBiase, classic textbook wrestler. Jake the Snake Roberts, classic textbook wrestler. And I loved seeing Ted DiBiase escape from the DDT. And Jake getting frustrated. Damn, I can't hit him with the DDT. The crowd was into it. And then, what do you know? A good match ends in a count out. Number 3. I'm not as aggravated about this count out as I was the first two. This one made sense because Virgil helped Ted DiBiase by throwing him into the ring at the last second. So I am fine with this being a count out victory for this match only, despite this being the third match to end in count out. But it made sense because Ted DiBiase keeps his belt, Jake attacks him afterwards, and puts money into his mouth. Stuffs the money into his mouth like Ted DiBiase used to do all the time. Next match, I think, is Big Boss Man versus Akeem. And Big Boss Man is a babyface. Before the match, Ted DiBiase attacked him. And I think that sets up a feud between the two following this event. But Big Boss Man still won against Akeem. Average match. We follow that one up with another average match. Ravishing Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan taking on Jimmy Superfly Snuka, just like Rick Martel and Earthquake earlier. This match was just made to put over Rick Rude. Have him beat a legend to add more stock to his name, because that's what it did. He beat Jimmy Snuka, and yeah, he looks cooler because of it, because he's Rick freaking Rude. The main event. The Ultimate Challenge! Everything about this screams classic. This was the quintessential WrestleMania main event. I think I've seen this match like 100 times already, so I'll be honest and say I might be a little biased towards it, but that's okay because this match still holds up. If you compare this match, a match from 1990, to matches nowadays, it still holds strong. It's one of the best matches to ever main event WrestleMania. These two out there had a really good quality match. Think about this. Hogan and Warrior are not known to have good quality matches. It's about their characters. But they actually had an above average match. There was some wrestling moves, some counters, some moments, some drama with the referee too. Really good stuff. They both got their stuff in. We had the Warrior shaking the ropes and Hogan hulking up, brother. And then the ending. It ended in the most shocking way it could ever end. Hogan loses clean. It just didn't happen back then. Let me tell you something. When Hogan lost back in those days, he lost by like DQ or interference or something like that. But he never lost clean. This was the first time someone beat Hogan clean. And Warrior was already over to begin with. I mean, at this point, people were seeing him on the same level as Hogan, which is why the match was so big, which is why it worked so well. Because there were fans just as strong, just as crazy as the Hulkamaniacs rooting for Warrior. And it just really made this match feel even more spectacular. But to see Warrior pin Hogan after he missed the leg drop, he hits the Warrior splash, 1, 2, 3, just as Hogan was just about to kick out, but he missed it by 1 second. Just amazing. We see Hogan with tears in his eyes. Tears of joy, by the way. He gives both belts to the Ultimate Warrior. They embrace, they hug, standing ovation for both men. Warrior celebrates inside the ring with fireworks, and Hogan is seen being carried off looking somber, watching himself leave that spotlight while Warrior stands in it. And Warrior was the man. He became the man to watch for the WWF. And I think at this time, they were going to go with him. They were really going to go with Warrior as their guy. It didn't work out very well. Actually, the next year's WrestleMania, Hogan was back in the main event. It is what it is. But that was cool. That was cool to see them give that shine to the Warrior. This, to me, is one of the best main events in WrestleMania history. Without question. But yeah, that's my review of WrestleMania 6. Overall, decent show, just a lot of things that were average, below average, okay, and annoying, like the count-out finishes. Again, 1 okay. 2's pushing it, but if it makes sense, I'll let it slide. 4 makes no sense, especially when one of them is a double count-out finish. I'm sick of those. By this point, I don't want to see another double count-out finish in WrestleMania. And if I do, I'm going to lose it. But give me your thoughts about WrestleMania 6. Also, give me your thoughts about the double count-out finishes. Are you just as annoyed as I am with them? Because it's ridiculous at this point. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time for WrestleMania 7. And trust me, you want to hear my thoughts on WrestleMania 7. Thank you guys for watching. This is your boy, Deluxe Man, signing off in Deluxe Man's World.